The crystalline ships of the Arcturian collective filled Jupiter's orbit like a swarm of angry hornets, their prismatic hulls refracting the distant sunlight into deadly rainbow patterns. Admiral Emma Hayes stood on the bridge of the U.S. Defiant, her knuckles white, as she gripped the command rail. Earth's last battle group, 50 ships strong, faced an enemy armada that numbered in the thousands. Multiple quantum signatures detected. Admiral, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his voice steady despite the fear evident in his eyes. They're charging weapons. Hayes took a deep breath, knowing these next moments would either mark humanity's finest hour or their greatest defeat. All ships, Battle Formation Delta. Activate point defense systems and prepare to execute Contingency Plan Omega. The human fleet moved with practiced precision, forming a three-dimensional defensive sphere. They trained for this moment ever since first contact revealed humanity wasn't alone in the universe, but nothing could have prepared them for the technological gap between their civilizations. The first Arcturian salvo came without warning. Beams of coherent light that seemed to ignore the laws of physics, bending around their defensive screens like water around rocks. The U.S. Challenger, their newest dreadnought, disappeared in a flash of vaporized metal. 3 more ships followed in quick succession. Return fire, Hayes ordered. All batteries, concentrate on Sector 7. Human railguns spat hypervelocity rounds while fusion missiles streaked across space. The attack seemed effective at first, several Arcturian vessels shattering under the barrage. But for every crystalline ship they destroyed, 10 more took its place. Admiral, her XO, Commander Thomas, called out. The Arcturians are broadcasting on all frequencies. Let's hear it, Hayes replied, already dreading what would come next. A voice that seemed to be composed of breaking glass filled the bridge. Your resistance is noted, primitives. Your determination to fight despite your obvious technological inferiority is amusing. But this exercise has grown tiresome. The entire human fleet shuddered as some invisible force seized their ships. Hayes watched in horror as their engines died, weapons went offline, and life support systems flickered. What you call quantum mechanics, the alien voice continued. We mastered before your species discovered fire. Your crude attempts at space warfare are like watching children play with sticks. Hayes gritted her teeth. Open a channel. When Rodriguez nodded, she spoke with all the dignity she could muster. This is Admiral Emma Hayes of the United Earth Defense Force. We will not surrender our right to exist among the stars. Laughter like shattering crystal echoed through the comm system. Surrender? Oh no, you misunderstand your position. We're not here to conquer you. You're simply not worth the effort of occupation. The Arcturian ships began moving in perfect synchronization, forming a massive geometric pattern that hurt the eyes to look at. Energy began building between them, creating a web of light that stretched across Jupiter's orbit. Consider this a lesson in humility, the alien voice declared. You will be confined to your inner system. Venture beyond Mars, and we will return to demonstrate just how merciful this defeat truly is. Before Hayes could respond, the energy web pulsed. Every human ship's navigation system crashed simultaneously. Quantum encrypted databases wiped themselves clean. Even their emergency backup systems failed. To ensure compliance, we have deleted all of your advanced propulsion data, the voice explained. The surveillance network we're establishing will alert us if you attempt to rebuild it. Be grateful. Most species in your position would simply be eradicated. Hayes watched helplessly as the crystalline armada began to disperse, their ships flowing away like mercury through space. They didn't even bother to finish off the disabled human fleet. In the silence that followed, Hayes turned to her crew. Their faces showed a mixture of shock, humiliation, and rage. Send word to Earth, she ordered quietly. Tell them we fought with everything we had. Commander Thomas moved closer, speaking softly so only she could hear. What do we do now, Admiral? Hayes stared at the departing Arcturian fleet, her mind already racing with possibilities they'd never suspect. Now, Commander, now we learn. We adapt. And we remember that humanity's greatest victories have always come after our most crushing defeats. As the U.S. Defiant limped back toward Earth, Hayes began composing her real message to Command, one that would never be transmitted electronically where the Arcturians might intercept it. The aliens had made a critical mistake. They'd assumed humanity would break under defeat. They didn't understand that humans were at their most dangerous when backed into a corner. They would learn. Deep within the Utah salt caverns, Dr. Catherine Kate Reynolds stared at the holographic display, watching patterns that shouldn't exist dance across her vision. The salvaged piece of Arcturian tech, no larger than a coffee mug, pulsed with an inner light that defied conventional physics. Mom! Her 16-year-old daughter Hannah burst into the lab, clutching a small aquarium. You have to see this. My bioluminescent bacteria project went weird. Honey, I'm in the middle of. Kate stopped mid-sentence. The bacteria in Hannah's tank were pulsing in a pattern eerily similar to the alien artifact. Tell me exactly what you did. Hannah set the tank next to the artifact. I was trying to make the bacteria respond to sound waves, but instead they started copying the light patterns from that thing. She pointed to the Arcturian tech. Is that bad? Kate's mind raced. For months, her team had tried everything to understand how the alien quantum systems worked. They'd approached it from every angle of advanced physics, but maybe they'd been thinking too complexly. Security clearance. Override Delta 7. Kate spoke to the lab's eye. Begin recording Observation Series 97. Hannah, you're about to help humanity make history. Over the next 12 hours, mother and daughter worked feverishly. The bacteria weren't just mimicking the artifact's light. They were somehow interfacing with its quantum field. Earth organisms interpreting alien technology in ways the Arcturians never imagined possible. Dr. Reynolds, her assistant, James, interrupted at hour 13. The weekly salvage shipment arrived. But there's something else. A group of resistance fighters had smuggled in another piece of Arcturian tech, disguised within a defunct satellite. The underground network of salvage operators had grown increasingly efficient at collecting debris under the alien surveillance network. They're getting careless, Kate mused, examining the new artifact. They don't even bother checking the space junk anymore. Their arrogance is becoming our advantage. Hannah yawned, bleary-eyed but excited. Mom, look. The bacteria are adapting. They're not just copying the patterns now. They're anticipating them. Kate rushed to the tank. The bacterial colonies were indeed moving in perfect synchronization with the artifact's quantum fluctuations, but milliseconds ahead of time. They're not just interfacing, she whispered. They're learning. Alarms suddenly blared through the facility. Arcturian satellite passing overhead. The AI announced, initiating electromagnetic blackout. The lab went dark except for the glow of the artifacts and the bacterial tank. In that moment, Kate saw something extraordinary. The bacteria were creating a field that bent the quantum emissions of the alien tech, making them invisible to standard detection. Hannah, Kate said slowly, I think your science fair project just showed us how to hide from the Arcturians. Over the next week, Kate's team worked around the clock. They mapped the bacterial quantum responses, created synthetic versions, and began developing a new kind of stealth technology, one that didn't try to block Arcturian sensors, but rather spoke to them in their own quantum language, telling them to look elsewhere. It's ready for testing, Kate announced to the facility's commander, General Mitchell, 2 weeks later. But we'll need a volunteer. The test subject was a small drone, coated with their new bioquantum stealth matrix. They released it during the next satellite pass, holding their breath as it flew straight up through the surveillance net. No alarms, no response. The Arcturians saw nothing. Begin Phase 2, General Mitchell ordered. Dr. Reynolds, you've just given humanity its first real hope. As Kate watched the drone return safely, Hannah hugged her tightly. Does this mean we're going to win? Kate thought about the Arcturians' dismissive words during the defeat at Jupiter, their certainty that humans were too primitive to comprehend their technology. They think they know everything about how the universe works, she said, but they never considered that sometimes the simplest life forms can teach us the most profound lessons. In the depths of the Utah facility, humanity's silent revolution had begun, not with grand battles or advanced weapons, but with a teenager's science project and a mother's willingness to see possibilities where others saw only defeat. The Arcturians' own technology would become their undoing, transformed by the very primitive life forms they had dismissed as irrelevant. The real work was just beginning, but for the first time since the fall, the future held more than just hope. It held possibility. Commander Jack Morrison stood in the observation deck of Project Wraith's testing facility, carved deep beneath the Pacific Ocean floor. Below him, the U.S. Phantom took shape in the massive underwater dock, its hull shimmering like a mirage in the floodlights. The ship's bioquantum coating, derived from Dr. Reynolds' breakthrough, made it appear to shift and fade even to the human eye. Final systems check complete. Lieutenant Sarah Cooper reported from her station. Bioquantum matrix is stable at 99.8%. We're ready for the first deep space test. Morrison nodded, trying to quell the nervous energy in his stomach. What's our window for the Mars orbital gap? 17 minutes when the Arcturian satellites rotate to their furthest points. Cooper replied. If we're going to do this, it has to be perfect. The U.S. Phantom was humanity's masterpiece, a fusion of stolen Arcturian tech and Earth ingenuity. Its hull incorporated synthetic bacteria colonies that could bend quantum fields, making the ship virtually invisible to alien sensors. But theory was one thing. Practice was another. All hands, battle stations, Morrison commanded, taking his place on the bridge. The crew of 30, each hand-picked and trained in absolute secrecy, moved with practiced precision. They'd drilled this mission 100 times in simulation. Now it was real. The underwater doors opened silently, and the Phantom glided up through the ocean's depths. Each layer of water they passed served as an additional test of their stealth systems. If the Arcturian satellites could detect them here, they'd at least have a chance to abort before reaching space. Approaching surface, the navigation officer announced. Quantum field stable. No detection signals from overhead surveillance. Morrison took a deep breath. Take us up. The Phantom broke through the waves under a moonless night sky. Their first hurdle passed without incident. The Arcturian satellites continued their lazy orbit, oblivious to the ship's emergence. Main drive engaging, engineering reported. Bioquantum matrix compensating for engine signature. They rose through the atmosphere in perfect silence, the ship's revolutionary propulsion system leaving no trace of their ascent. As they passed the stratosphere, Morrison felt the weight of the moment. If they succeeded, this would be humanity's first venture beyond Mars since the fall. Then something unexpected happened. Sir, Cooper's voice carried an edge of excitement. The bioquantum field. It's not just hiding us. It's creating echoes. Morrison moved to her station, studying the readings. The bacterial matrix was somehow reflecting and distorting quantum signals, creating ghost images on their own sensors. Can the Arcturians see these echoes? That's just it, sir, Cooper replied, fingers flying over her console. We can adjust them, make them appear wherever we want. We're not just invisible. We can create phantom ships on their sensors. The implications hit Morrison like a thunderbolt. They hadn't just built a stealth ship. They'd created the ultimate tool for deception. Take us past Mars orbit, he ordered. Let's see what this ship can really do. The Phantom slipped through the surveillance net around Mars, its passage masked by carefully crafted quantum echoes. They pushed further, reaching the asteroid belt, farther than any human ship had ventured in 5 years. Multiple Arcturian signatures detected, Tactical warned. Mining fleet at bearing 340. Morrison smiled. Let's give them a show. Create 3 quantum echoes. make them look like mineral anomalies. The effect was immediate. The Arcturian ships adjusted course to investigate the false readings, completely ignoring the real ship floating barely 1,000,000 kilometers away. "We can make them see whatever we want," Cooper whispered, awe in her voice. Their own quantum technology turned against them. Morrison watched the aliens chase ghosts through the asteroid field, his mind racing with possibilities. Plot a course back to Earth. We've got a lot of reports to write, and a lot of ships to build. As the Phantom turned homeward, Morrison drafted a message to command in his head. The Ghost Fleet would become more than just a means of hiding from the Arcturians. It would be the key to unraveling their entire empire, one carefully crafted deception at a time. Humanity's first true stealth ship had proven itself more valuable than anyone could have imagined. The Arcturians' dominance of space was about to be challenged by an enemy they couldn't see, fighting a war they wouldn't even know had begun, until it was too late. Marine Colonel Ashley Walker crouched in the shadows of the massive Arcturian mining facility, watching crystalline robots process asteroid ore with mechanical precision. Her 6-person infiltration team had slipped aboard during a cargo transfer, their bioquantum stealth suits making them invisible to the facility's automated security systems. Timers running. "Colonel," Sergeant Mike Torres whispered through their secure comm. 30 minutes until the next automated systems check." Walker acknowledged with a hand signal. Their intelligence on the Arcturians' routines had to be perfect. There would be no second chances at this mission. Status on the Ghost Fleet. U.S. Phantom and her sister ships are in position, Lieutenant Grace Chen replied, monitoring quantum signals through her specialized visor. They're keeping the Arcturian patrol fleet busy chasing sensor ghosts in the Kuiper Belt. "Move out," Walker ordered. "Remember, this has to look like an industrial accident." The team split into 3 pairs, moving through the crystalline corridors like shadows. Walker and Chen headed for the central processing core, where the facility's quantum computers managed the endless streams of mining data. They were nearly there when Chen grabbed Walker's arm. "Colonel, look at this." She pointed to a data stream flowing through the translucent walls, a feature of Arcturian architecture that still unsettled most humans. Walker's blood ran cold as she decoded the alien text. "That's a blueprint for a new type of quantum scanner. Send it to command now." "Already done. But Colonel," Chen's voice trembled slightly, "if they deploy this network, our stealth tech won't work. They'll detect every shipyard we've built." Walker's mind raced. Their original mission had been simple sabotage, make the Arcturians think their automated systems were failing. But this changed everything. "New plan," she announced over the comm. "This facility isn't just going to malfunction, it's going to disappear." "Mom," Torres questioned. "That wasn't in the mission parameters." Neither was letting them build a scanner that could expose Earth's defenses. Walker pulled out their emergency demolition charges, originally meant as a last resort. "Torres, Roberts, get to the power core. Jackson, Martinez, secure us an escape route through the ore processing section. Chen, you're with me. We're going to introduce a fatal flaw into their quantum database." The next 20 minutes were a blur of precise movements and careful sabotage. Chen's fingers flew over alien interfaces, planting corrupted code that would spread through the Arcturian mining network. Walker placed charges at critical structural points, each one disguised to look like a stress fracture in the crystalline architecture. "Colonel," Torres called over the comm. "Power core is rigged, but we've got company incoming. Maintenance drones." "Time to go," Walker ordered. "Everyone to extraction point Beta. Chen, initiate the virus." As they moved through the facility, Walker noticed something odd about the maintenance drones' behavior. They seemed to be responding to phantom errors throughout the station, a side effect of Chen's virus already taking hold. The team regrouped at their entry point, where a seemingly solid wall concealed their stealth shuttle. Through the transparent corridors, they could see more drones arriving. their crystalline forms casting prismatic patterns as they tried to address non-existent system failures. Charges set to trigger in sequence, Torres reported. It'll look like a cascading systems failure. Walker nodded. Mission accomplished. Let's. An alarm suddenly blared, not the harsh sound of human warnings, but a crystalline chime that resonated through their bones. The scanner blueprints, Chen realized. They're starting fabrication early. No choice, Walker growled. We go now. Detonate on my mark. They piled into the shuttle, its bioquantum field extending to mask their exit. As they pulled away from the facility, Walker watched through the viewport as the first charge detonated, creating a power surge that triggered the others in sequence. The Arcturian facility, one of their largest automated mining operations, began to break apart. But thanks to their careful planning, each explosion looked like a natural result of the previous one. A catastrophic but explicable industrial accident. Command, this is Infiltration Team Alpha. Walker transmitted as they rendezvoused with their Ghost Fleet escort. Mission accomplished, but with complications. We need to accelerate the timeline. The enemy is adapting faster than we anticipated. As their shuttle docked with the U.S. Phantom, Walker watched the facility's final destruction illuminate the asteroid field. Their first major strike against the Arcturians was successful, but the real war was just beginning. And now it was a race against time. Former poker champion Mike Sullivan adjusted his tie, studying the Centaurian delegation across the conference table. The aliens' iridescent scales shifted colors with their emotions, currently a mix of skepticism and curiosity. After 3 days of careful negotiations on their neutral space station, it was time to play his ace. Distinguished representatives, Mike began, his voice carrying the perfect blend of concern and deference. We've shared evidence of the Arcturians' recent technical difficulties. But there's something else you should see. His assistant, Dr. Amanda Hayes, activated a holographic display showing the destruction of the mining facility. The Centaurian scales flickered to deep blue, their color of intense interest. A tragic accident, the lead Centaurian, Ambassador Xith, observed. Her translator conveyed the subtle harmonics of suspicion in her voice, one of many recent Arcturian mishaps. Indeed, Mike replied, maintaining perfect composure. Our primitive monitoring stations have noticed an alarming pattern of failures in their automated systems. As a species concerned with galactic stability, we felt compelled to share this information. A younger Centaurian, Lays Vress, suddenly locked her multifaceted eyes on Mike. Her scales pulsed with purple bands, the mark of an empath using their abilities. Mike had been warned about this possibility. Instead of trying to block her, he did something unexpected. He opened his mind to a carefully curated memory, standing on the bridge of a destroyer during the fall, watching helplessly as Arcturian weapons tore through Earth's fleet. The raw emotion of that moment, the fear, the humiliation, the burning desire for justice. Vress recoiled, her scales blanching white with shock. You're not just warning us out of altruism. No, Mike admitted, letting his practiced diplomatic mask slip just enough. We've experienced Arcturian arrogance firsthand. They confined us to our solar system, thinking us too primitive to matter. But even primitives can observe, can't we? Ambassador Xith's scales shifted to amber, the color of tactical consideration. You're suggesting these failures aren't accidents. Mike spread his hands in a gesture of calculated innocence. We're not suggesting anything. We're simply sharing data that our crude sensors have gathered. What conclusions you draw are your own. Dr. Hayes displayed another hologram, this one showing the patterns of Arcturian fleet movements responding to their ghost ships, though the Centaurians didn't know that part. Their patrols have become erratic. They're diverting significant resources to investigate anomalies that their sensors can't properly explain. Vress, still rattled from the emotional contact, turned to her superior. Ambassador, his fear of the Arcturians is genuine. But there's something else. Her scales swirled with confused patterns. A sense of anticipation. Mike allowed himself a small smile. The empathic reading was working in their favor, adding credibility to their careful deception. We may be primitive, but we understand self-interest. If the Arcturian collective's power is truly waning, other civilizations should be prepared. Ambassador Xith rose, her scales now showing the deep green of decision. We will bring this information to the Centaurian High Council. Your species' commitment to galactic stability will be remembered. As the delegation left, Dr. Hayes waited until the doors sealed before speaking. They bought it. Better, Mike replied, loosening his tie. They think they saw through us. Vress detected exactly what we wanted her to. Enough deception to make our true motivations seem transparent. And the memory you showed her, real enough to be convincing, controlled enough to hide our actual capabilities. Mike began gathering their materials. The Centaurians will move forces to exploit what they think is Arcturian weakness. When the collective responds, they'll assume it's desperate retaliation rather than legitimate defense. Dr. Hayes shook her head in admiration. A bluff within a bluff within a bluff. No wonder you were undefeated at the poker championships. The best deception, Mike said, watching the Centaurian ship prepare for departure through the station's viewport, is one where everyone thinks they're the smartest person in the room. As their own shuttle undocked, Mike drafted his report to Earth Command. The Centaurians would play their part perfectly, thinking themselves clever predators seizing an opportunity. They'd never realized they were simply pieces on humanity's larger chessboard. The game was becoming more complex, but that's exactly how humanity needed it to be. In the chaos of a destabilized galaxy, Earth's Ghost Fleet would have all the cover they needed for what came next. Intelligence Officer Olivia Martinez watched the encrypted data streams flow across her quantum displays, each one carrying carefully crafted lies to different corners of the Arcturian collective. From her command center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, she orchestrated a symphony of chaos that was tearing an empire apart from within. New development on Operation Widowmaker, her deputy, Jason Parker, reported. The Crystalline Dominion is accusing the Silicon Consciousness of sabotaging their flagship's quantum core. Olivia allowed herself a small smile. The Crystalline Dominion and Silicon Consciousness were the two most powerful factions within the Arcturian collective. Show me their communications. The display shifted, showing a heated exchange between the two species' representatives. The crystalline being's avatar pulsed with rage-induced patterns, while the silicon entity's digital form flickered with what passed for indignation in their culture. Send package Delta through their neural networks, Olivia ordered. Let's add fuel to this particular fire. Package Delta was a masterpiece of human cyber warfare. Fragments of corrupted code that appeared to have silicon origins, designed to trigger glitches in crystalline systems. The fact that humans had created it would never occur to either side. Package deployed, Parker confirmed. Impact in 3, 2, 1. On the main screen, they watched as the crystalline flagship's defensive systems suddenly activated, firing a warning shot at their silicon allies. The silicon ships responded immediately, their formation shifting into attack patterns. They're really going to do it, Parker whispered. They're going to fight each other. That's what happens when you build an empire on arrogance, Olivia replied, typing rapidly as she prepared the next phase. The Arcturians think they're so superior that the idea of primitive humans manipulating their systems is impossible. Each faction would rather believe their allies are traitors than consider the alternative. The tactical display lit up as more ships from both sides moved into combat positions. Olivia's team had spent months planting false evidence, corrupting data streams, and creating phantom sensor readings that made each Arcturian species suspect the others of plotting against them. Mom. Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez called from her station. The Vapor Collective is mobilizing their fleet. They're demanding an emergency council session. Perfect. The Vapor Collective, the third most powerful Arcturian faction, was playing right into their hands. Olivia had specially crafted evidence suggesting that both the crystalline and silicon factions were planning to redistribute the Vapor Collective's territory once they weakened each other. "Begin Operation Ghost Echo," Olivia commanded. "Let's make sure that council session never happens." Her team activated dozens of ghost ships near the council chamber station, creating sensor readings that suggested multiple assassination attempts were imminent. The paranoia they'd carefully cultivated over months would do the rest. The results exceeded even their expectations. Within hours, the Arcturian council chamber erupted in chaos as automated defense systems, their programming subtly altered by human cyber attacks, identified council members as threats. The resulting firefight destroyed not just the chamber, but any chance of peaceful resolution. "All 5 Arcturian species are now at combat readiness," Parker reported, his voice tense with excitement. "The Crystalline Dominion is formally accusing the Silicum consciousness of attempted genocide. The Vapor Collective is declaring neutrality while mobilizing for war. The Minor Species Alliance is fragmenting as we speak." Olivia watched the growing chaos with satisfaction. The mighty Arcturian Collective, which had dismissed humanity as primitives, was tearing itself apart based on threats that didn't exist and evidence that had been crafted in an underground facility on the very planet they'd contained. "Send word to the Ghost Fleet," she ordered. "All ships maintain absolute stealth protocols. Let the Arcturians focus on fighting their own shadows." As alerts continued to flood their displays, Olivia drafted her report to command. The Arcturians had made a fatal mistake. They'd assumed that technological superiority meant absolute security. They'd never considered that their greatest threat would come not from advanced weapons or superior ships, but from the careful manipulation of their own fears and prejudices. "The Arcturian Civil War has begun," she announced to her team. "Now we wait and watch them burn." In the darkness of her command center, Olivia Martinez, a member of the species the Arcturians had dismissed as primitive, orchestrated the fall of an empire, not with the weapons of war, but with humanity's greatest assets: cunning, patience, and the ability to turn an enemy's strength into their ultimate weakness. Fleet Admiral David Cooper stood on the bridge of the U.S. Vindicator, watching as thousands of phantom ships flickered into existence across Arcturian space. Each ghost vessel was a masterpiece of deception, created by the bioquantum technology that had become humanity's greatest weapon. "Operation Sunburst is go," he announced, his voice carrying across the neural-linked fleet. "All ghost ships begin randomized attack patterns. Let's give them a light show they'll never forget." The Arcturian response was immediate and chaotic. Their once coordinated defense grid, already strained by internal conflicts, scattered in multiple directions as sensors reported non-existent human fleets attacking from every vector. "Sir," Lieutenant Commander Rachel Wong reported, "the Crystalline Dominion and Silicon Consciousness are both claiming the attacks are false flag operations by the other. Their fleets are engaging each other rather than investigating the phantom signals." Cooper nodded grimly. "Exactly as intelligence predicted. Begin Phase 2. All actual ships, proceed to your designated targets. Complete radio silence, maximum stealth protocols." The real human fleet, 300 ships strong, slipped through the gaps in Arcturian defense coverage. Each vessel carried a quantum bomb, designed to overload the very technology the Arcturians had used to defeat Earth 5 years ago. "First target packages away," Tactical reported. "Stealth infiltrators confirming successful placement at shipyards in sectors 7 through 13. Everything was proceeding according to plan until a priority alert flashed across Cooper's neural feed. An Arcturian AI defense node had detected a pattern in the ghost ship movements, a subtle flaw in their randomization algorithm. "Sir," Wong's voice carried an edge of urgency, "the AI is attempting to correlate the phantom signals. If it succeeds in identifying the pattern—" "It won't matter," Cooper interrupted, making a split-second decision. "All ships, execute Operation Sunburst ahead of schedule. Detonate all quantum bombs now." But sir, our infiltration teams in sectors 15 through 20 haven't reached their targets yet. Better a partial victory than none at all. Cooper opened a fleet-wide channel. All infiltration teams, abort mission and proceed to emergency extraction points. Ghost Fleet, execute maximum phantom signature generation. Blind their sensors with everything we've got. The space around them erupted in quantum chaos as the bombs detonated. Arcturian shipyards, refineries, and defense platforms disappeared in cascading waves of destruction. The bioquantum disruption spread through their networks like a virus, turning their own technology against them. Arcturian AI node is going offline, Wong reported with satisfaction. Their pattern recognition failed when we changed the timeline. They're completely blind now. But victory had come at a cost. Several human infiltration teams were still behind enemy lines, cut off from their extraction routes by the premature detonation. Cooper felt the weight of command pressing down on him as he made his next decision. Deploy the Lazarus Protocol, he ordered. Give our people a chance to survive. The Lazarus Protocol was their most closely guarded secret, a capability they'd hoped not to reveal until the final battle. Every human operative carried quantum entanglement nodes in their stealth suits. Now those nodes activated, creating localized Ghost Fleet signatures around each stranded team. Arcturian forces are in complete disarray, Tactical reported. They can't distinguish our extraction teams from the phantom signals. Infiltrators report they're using the chaos to slip through enemy lines. Cooper watched as the strategic display updated in real time. The mighty Arcturian war machine, already weakened by internal strife, was coming apart at the seams. Their quantum technology, the source of their superiority, had become their greatest vulnerability. All ships, form up on my position, Cooper commanded. Prepare for. Sir, Wong's voice cut through the bridge. Multiple quantum signatures detected. The Centaurian fleet just dropped out of FTL at the edge of the system. Cooper smiled. Right on schedule. The Centaurians, convinced by Sullivan's diplomatic deception, had arrived to claim their piece of the falling empire. Their presence would ensure the Arcturians couldn't mount an effective counterattack. Send word to Earth, he ordered. Operation Sunburst is a success. The Arcturian collective's military backbone is broken. Phase 8 can begin. As his fleet regrouped for the final push, Cooper reflected on how far humanity had come. From defeated primitives to masters of deception, they had turned their containment into an advantage, their weakness into strength. The Arcturians had taught them the power of quantum technology, and humanity had taught them the danger of underestimating the determined enemy. Lieutenant General Rachel Winters moved through the crystalline halls of the Arcturian capital world, her boots making no sound on the transparent floor. Behind her, a squad of Earth's finest Marines maintained perfect formation, their bioquantum armor rendering them nearly invisible even to the naked eye. The once mighty center of the Arcturian collective lay in chaos. Their automated defenses had been turned against them, their mighty fleets reduced to scattered remnants by a combination of internal warfare and human strategic brilliance. Status report. Winters subvocalized through her neural link. All Arcturian leadership accounted for and contained. Captain Marcus Rodriguez replied. Their last defensive AI core has been neutralized. The Ghost Fleet is maintaining the quantum interference shield around the planet. No one's getting in or out without our permission. They'd reached the Grand Council chamber, a massive crystalline dome where the Arcturian species had once decided the fate of lesser civilizations. Now the representatives of all 5 Arcturian species waited under heavy guard, their forms reflecting the ambient light in various states of distress. Ironic, isn't it? Winters addressed the assembled aliens as she entered. 5 years ago, you confined us to our solar system, claiming we were too primitive to join galactic society. Now here we are. The crystalline elder's form pulsed with indignation. Impossible. Our quantum technology became your greatest weakness, Winters interrupted. You were so convinced of your superiority that you never considered we might approach quantum mechanics differently. While you saw it as a tool of power, we saw it as a language we could learn to speak, and then use to tell lies. She gestured to her Marines, who activated a holographic display showing the full extent of humanity's deception. The Ghost Fleet's phantom signatures, the manipulated sensor data, the carefully orchestrated civil war, all laid bare. The Silicon Consciousness representative's digital avatar flickered with what might have been shame. We believed ourselves to be fighting infiltrators from rival species. All this time, you were dancing to humanity's tune. Winters confirmed. Your containment policy gave us something you never expected: time to study, to learn, and to plan. While you watched our sun, we watched your empire. While you guarded against primitive rockets, we learned to turn your quantum sight against itself. The Vapor Collective's representative swirled in agitation. The Centaurians were another piece in our game. Winters smiled. They're currently securing their agreed-upon territories, believing they cleverly exploited your weakness. Their time will come, but for now, they serve a purpose. She approached the central podium, the same one from which the Arcturians had once pronounced humanity's containment. The symbolism wasn't lost on anyone in the chamber. Now we discuss terms, Winters declared. Earth doesn't seek your destruction, only your acknowledgement of a simple truth. Technological superiority means nothing without wisdom to guide it. The surrender ceremony that followed was broadcast across Arcturian space. The terms were surprisingly lenient. Earth demanded recognition as a sovereign power, unrestricted access to quantum technology research, and a seat on a new galactic council that would replace the Arcturian Collective's dominion. As the former rulers of space signed the Treaty of Sol, Winters received a private message from Earth Command. The Ghost Fleet had detected unusual quantum signatures from deep space, signals that matched neither human nor known alien patterns. Something else is out there, she mused, watching the Arcturians formally acknowledge humanity's rise to power. Something that might make us appreciate having these former enemies as allies. The ceremony concluded with a gesture heavy with meaning: the deactivation of the containment satellites around Earth's solar system. As they powered down, Winters addressed the chamber one final time. "Remember this day," she declared, "not as the fall of the Arcturian Collective, but as the moment when true galactic civilization began, one built on mutual respect rather than technological arrogance." As humanity's representatives departed the capital world, their ghost fleet maintaining a watchful guard, Rachel Winters couldn't help but smile at the poetry of it all. The Arcturians had sought to contain humanity, never realizing they had instead created the perfect conditions for Earth's ascension. From defeat had come dominance, but with it came wisdom. Humanity had learned from their oppressors' mistakes. They would build something better from the ashes of the old order. A new dawn for all species who dared to reach for the stars. The story of humanity's rise was complete, but their true journey was just beginning.